I am more enlightened than you. 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 That's a joke. Nobody's more enlightened than anyone else, but people play that game a lot, so I'm making it conscious, making a little joke, a little satire. Anyway, this is day 3 of Almost Enlightened. 3 of 3, 3 in a row. And I was kicking around ideas, and basically what's coming up for me in my life, big theme is my codependency, which basically for me as a child, I kind of thought I wasn't going to get fed. I couldn't get my needs met unless everyone around me was okay. And they frequently weren't, which meant I was very worried about making sure everyone was okay. People pleasing. But then I would also have these rages because you're kind of resentful about trying to take care of everyone. And so that kind of continued on to this day because, those patterns are deep. So I'm working on it. I'm working on raging less, having better boundaries, knowing where I end and someone else begins, not trying to internalize everyone's experience and worry about everyone. And I can only be okay when I know everyone's perfectly safe around me. And a lot of times I wake up in the middle of the night and worry about others or worry about the world. It's a very codependent thing to do. So I go to, 12-step meetings for it. Sometimes I read books. But I'm not trying to fix myself because this is as not codependent as I'm ever going to be, and I don't believe in a fix. But I am trying to create new neural pathways. So recently, what clicked for me is I am not available for Dom sub dynamics anymore. I had a best friend for one of my 2 best friends for years. We were in Dom sub dynamics about everything, like kind of like frat boys in a way. And I love him. He's a great guy, but he couldn't hear my boundaries. I told him I was uncomfortable about the way he talked about people's bodies, like moralizing people's bodies, the way he talked about sex and women. And also, I just didn't like him being randomly mean to me. And it was like he couldn't understand the boundaries. There's a toxicity there. And I just stopped being friends with him. I drew a line in the sand because I'm not available for Dom sub dynamics. I had a certain pattern with my mom where she was always trying to get me to go to grad school to become a therapist because she wants me to be sanctioned by academia. And I flipped out at her for criticizing my coaching career and being like, I know as much as anyone. I don't need to go to school, or I don't want to go to school. I'm already working a lot. And, I really, really made her back off. And it's uncomfortable to get angry and express these boundaries as a people-pleasing, codependent empath. But, and I'm not necessarily advocating for being angry, like ragey or reactive. I was ragey with my mom, and I used to be ragey with my wife. I'm counting days on rage. It's been like a month and a half. So I try not to get loud and intimidating anymore. But, I need to make my boundaries known because if I can't be sovereign, it's like how spiritual am I going to be? How much am I going to anchor the light if I can't be sovereign within my body? And so today, I like to tell stories about what's going on in my life and not pretend to be all fucking spiritual all the time. Like, I got in a bad fight with my wife, and I was like, we didn't have the best weekend together. I was like, I don't like when you talk down to me. I don't like the henpecking and the talking down. It's kind of an old-timey term, but you guys probably know what I mean. And she does it because of her dad issues and because she's overwhelmed or whatever. And she doesn't even know that she's doing it sometimes, but I've asked her many, many times over the years, and I was like, I basically gave an ultimatum, and now I have a new thing I'm counting days on, which is threatening my wife. I don't want to do that, but I want her to take this very seriously. And I think she heard me today because I was like, I had a spine about it. I am not available for Dom sub dynamics. Okay. So if you're interested in spirituality, you might be an empath codependent like me. Start drawing a line in the sand in your relationships because life is lived in relationships. You can't be in an I-thou relationship with people and the world if you're in a Dom sub relationship. I mean, I'll be a sub to God, to reality, because I have no control over what is, but that's about it. I don't know if that's too abstract, but so that's like the main gist of what I wanted to kick around today on Almost Enlightened. And it is a spiritual process, having boundaries and being angry. If you can't tell, I'm an angry non-dualist. I'm an angry spiritual master because I'm still working on having boundaries. Like, I don't want to be fake. I've been through these relationships. Like, I was in like, I would have these gurus. I had a guru named Scott Killaby, and he couldn't take feedback from me. He was like a narcissist. And I got into a narcissist empath dynamic. I got in a fight with him on Facebook. It was fucking weird. Now we're cool. But like, I'm not available for Dom sub dynamics. So like, after that fight, I'm like, I'm my own guru. So can you be in your spine, sovereign, or are you going to constantly like keep playing these games? I have a client who wouldn't mind me talking about his experience. So I was getting on apps and getting involved with these very immature people, and he's either rejecting them or they're rejecting him. He's in constant dom sub dynamics with them, and he's like, he doesn't want to be. He wants to have a spine and be like, no more of that bullshit. But it's so alluring because it's what we know from our childhoods. Reject, be rejected. Control, be controlled. So I say, from one spiritual being to another, let's draw a line in the sand with that. And one way to do it, one way to know whether you're internalizing someone else's experience or being true to your own experience is, are you guiding your own body that day and giving yourself what you need, or are you putting yourself aside, holding your breath? If I'm like in a conversation with someone and I want them to be a certain way, I'm going to come back to guiding my own breath and anchoring the light inside myself. Being fully physically available for myself. And that's literally how I know that this body's over here and they're over there, and I don't have to hold my breath and wait to thrive until mommy's okay, daddy's okay, wifey's okay, friendy's okay. Like, people are not okay. They're going to be super unhappy, and you got to anchor the light. Like St. Francis, it's not your job to be a savior. St. Francis is like doing his qigong and all the animals come to him. He's just anchoring the light. If you guys have ever seen him depicted in art. So be St. Francis. Don't be a fucking mook, Like, just be an angry St. Francis like me. Like, fucking A, bro. I don't know. That was a weird ending to this YouTube, but I'm a weird motherfucker. Odd or God? Day 3. Keep it rolling, sir. Keep it rolling.